Yeah, I guess he tried to throw a champagne bottle at Wishbone, and he ends up like ducking, and then your man gets hit in the face with a champagne bottle.
100%.
Dennis, I'm gonna call you by your government name. You're not a Ghostface Killah. I'm sorry. In fact, most people don't ever try to beef with me. Do you know why? What do you guys think? At the end of the day, I'm very sorry for you. You're an old man. You're an old man that's lost his relevance, and you're trying to reclaim the spotlight from my spotlight. That's not gonna work, Ghost. Dennis.
Yo, I shan punched Mase in his face over some the other night.
One of hip-hop's most underrated rappers is Ghostface Killah from the legendary Wu-Tang Clan. He wasn't just a lyrical genius, but also a guy you really didn't want to mess with.
Ghost is a bully, man. Like, that's just how they were. They was just real stick-up gunmen type of dudes that's all we knew.
His flamboyant style might have thrown some people off, much like MC Hammer's did, but those who actually knew Ghostface would be quick to tell you he was nothing like the flashy, over-the-top persona you might assume. He was the real deal, and he didn't take disrespect lightly.
Dwelling in the past, flashbacks when I was young. Whoever thought I'd have a baby girl and 3 sons?
Throughout hip-hop history, Ghostface has built himself quite the reputation, not just for his bars, but also for the beefs he's gotten into. We're talking about big names here. 50 Cent.
I ain't even trying. I ain't even that
Mase.
This is the time when that boy Ghostface from the Wu-Tang Clan jarred Mase up, which y'all don't know what that means. Piece that boy Mase up. Mase got his jarred wired. You know what I mean? Had to talk to the wire like Kanye West. Now this all went down. They said Mase was acting a fool. You dig? On the block, on the stage, talking a lot of at this show that he was doing, this in the Wu.
Even Martin Shkreli, the pharma bro many of you can remember for his attempt to increase the price of a drug almost 5,000%.
Dennis, I'm gonna call you by your government name. You're not a Ghostface. I'm sorry. In fact, most people don't ever try to beef with me. Do you know why? What do you guys think? At the end of the day, I'm very sorry for you. You're an old man. You're an old man that's lost his relevance, and you're trying to reclaim the spotlight from my spotlight. That's not gonna work, Ghost. Dennis.
But before diving into all the drama, let's rewind to one of his most infamous moments, the time he supposedly punched Mase in the face. So here's the story. It's said that Mase was at a concert doing his thing, and somewhere along the way he decides to hop on the mic and throw some disrespect toward Wu-Tang.
Mase was doing a show, and at that concert he decided to get on the mic and disrespect Wu-Tang. And y'all know how the Wu give it up. If you disrespect the Wu, then you got a problem.
And if you've been paying even the slightest attention to how the Wu operates, you already know. Disrespect them, and you're asking for trouble. It's like an unspoken rule of hip-hop, no exceptions. Naturally, word got back to the Wu crew, and when that happens, you know something's about to go down. Fast forward to the nightclub scene. It's late night in New York, and Mase is out vibing with his entourage, probably thinking it's just another regular night. But surprise! Ghostface Killah and his crew are also at the same spot. Now, with tensions already simmering, the two groups cross paths, and that's when things get physical. Next thing you know, a full-on fight breaks out. When the dust settles, Mase doesn't just leave with bruised pride, he's got a broken jaw to show for it. He had to have his jaw wired shut for 6 weeks. When this whole story first surfaced, the buzz on the streets was that Ghostface himself landed the punch that took Mase down. It sounded like a done deal. But then things got interesting. On Ghostface's Supreme Clientele album, there's this track called Malcolm, where he drops the line, "Yo, I champ punch Mase in his face over some
Yo, I shan punched Mase in his face over some the other night. They kidnapped his brother."
Now this line sent everyone into a frenzy trying to decode it. Some thought Ghostface was name-dropping someone from the Wu-Tang circle, maybe an affiliate named iChamp or iChamp, while others figured he was just saying he himself champ-punched Mase. The line left the whole thing up for interpretation, fueling the debate. But then Mase himself came forward to speak on the situation, and he put his own spin on the whole incident during some intervention between Joe Budden and Wu-Tang. He started by kind of joking, "You know, a beating from a member of the Wu-Tang Clan really used to mean something." And then he took a playful jab at Raekwon, saying, "I'm just praying that Raekwon has the strength to recover from this incident and move on with his career," Mase said. "It's not every day you roll up on someone with your whole goon squad and only give a ninja got a black eye. Man, Ray is straight slippin' son. Mase went on, saying, back then, people really got their ass handed to them by Wu-Tang's entourage. But now, a dude walks away with just a scratch on his eye. Hip-hop's not what it used to be, man. I'm actually worried for the genre when Wu-Tang beatings don't hit like they used to. Then Mase brought it full circle, recalling his own experience. Shti. I remember when I badmouthed Ghostface Killah at a show one time and I spent the next 6 weeks with my jaw wired shut, Mase stated. What an experience that was. You know, to be beat down so severely by a hip-hop legend. And he even cracked a joke about his voice, saying, why do you think I sound so F***king stupid? He stopped, then continued. You think I want to rap the way I do? I once heard Puff say to a reporter that my voice was a product of my Harlem swagger. Wrong. It's a product of a Staten Island face stompin', and I'm damn proud. Honestly, the way Mase talked about it, he almost made it sound like a rite of passage in hip-hop. And it definitely doesn't stop there. If you think the Wu-Tang Clan just beefs with outsiders, think again. They have had their fair share of internal clashes too, and one of the more infamous ones involved Method Man and Ghostface Killah. So here's how it unfolds. They're on a bus, and Meth is talking about life in the hood, just vibing and reflecting.
Park Hill, I can tell you about Park Hill. Park Hill like this to me, man. You come out on the block, you never know what's gonna happen. Anything can happen. Like you could play ball all day.
But Ghostface, who's sitting nearby, isn't exactly in the mood for a deep conversation. Out of nowhere, he tells Meth to off, basically shutting him down mid-thought.
Get sweaty and then later on that night.
Kill that man.
What?
You know what I'm saying? Say that nobody want to hear.
Now Meth wasn't about to take that lying down. He gets up and squares up, towering over Ghostface like he's ready to settle it right then and there. They're going back and forth. The tension's building and Meth's voice just keeps getting louder. It was like he's trying to make a point that no one's going to dismiss him, not even Ghost.
Y'all cut man. I'ma say that.
I don't give a f. I be do that
I'm saying like this, y'all brought me.
I don't give a f. Who's around?
Check this out, whenever it come down this camera, is get on some bull. But listen,
what?
We was in London. My name was on the paper on some Method Man and 3 other band members do the interviews.
Yeah.
I ain't hear nobody, why that gotta do all that? No. Stayed in their bags, slept.
It didn't come to blows, thankfully, but it was one of those moments that showed even Wu-Tang had its internal sparks flying every now and then. But wait, there's more drama. Enter the Bone Thugs and Harmony saga, another chapter in Ghostface's long list of run-ins.
There was a situation at the Def Jam holiday party that year,
Right.
that you were at,
Right.
when Ghostface and Wishbone.
This one goes back to 1996 during the Def Jam holiday party at Mirage in NYC. By this time, both groups were riding high on fame, and tensions were already in the air thanks to the whole East Coast versus West Coast feud. Apparently, Ghostface didn't take too kindly to Wishbone, a rapper signed to Eazy-E's West Coast-based Ruthless Records, hanging out on Wu-Tang's turf.
Ran into each other.
Right. Right.
And
Ghost had made the mistake of assuming that the Bone Thugs was actually from LA and not from Cleveland because of the association with Eazy-E.
So, as Wishbone is making his way through the club, Ghostface confronts him face to face, ready to bring the smoke. According to Consequence, who later shared the story, things escalated quickly. Ghost even tried to hurl a champagne bottle at Wishbone, but Wish ducked just in time. Instead, the bottle smashed into someone else's face, a friend of Consequence's who got caught in the crossfire and ended up bleeding everywhere.
yeah, I guess he tried to throw a champagne bottle at Wishbone, and he ends up like ducking, and then your man gets hit in the face with a champagne bottle.
100%.
From there, all hell broke loose. It turned into a full-on melee between both camps. But here's the kicker. After the fight, Ghostface allegedly went and changed into a ninja suit, because of course nothing really ever happened. Then there's the modern villain arc featuring Martin Shkreli. Back in 2016, Ghostface Killah clashed with the controversial Pharma Bro over a lot more than music. Shkreli had already gained infamy for jacking up the price of a life-saving drug from $13 to $750 per pill, and Ghost wasn't having it. In a 12-minute video, Ghostface called Shkreli out. $750 for a pill, Martin? That's not right, Martin.
Yo, this the dude that raised the pill from $13 a pill to like $750, man. He raised it by 5,000%, man. $750 for a pill, Martin. That's not right, Martin.
Now, the beef between Ghost and Shkreli actually started over Wu-Tang's elusive album, Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, which Shkreli bought for a staggering $2 million. Ghostface had called Shkreli a shtihead and suggested he release the album for free. Shkreli responded like a full-blown wrestling villain, releasing his own video sipping wine while flanked by masked henchmen.
Dennis, I'm gonna call you by your government name. You're not a Ghostface. I'm sorry. In fact, most people don't ever try to beef with me. Do you know why? What do you guys think? At the end of the day, I'm very sorry for you. You're an old man. You're an old man that's lost his relevance, and you're trying to reclaim the spotlight from my spotlight. That's not gonna work, Ghost. Dennis.
He played the album in the background and addressed Ghostface by his real name, Dennis Coles, while threatening to erase Ghost's vocals from the album entirely. At the end of the day, I'm very sorry for you, he said. You're an old man that's lost his relevance, and you're trying to claim the spotlight from my spotlight. That's not going to work, Ghost. Dennis, in fact, I think that if you ever say some dumb shit again, this album, this Shaolin, I'm going to erase all your shish from this album. I'm going to erase you from the record books. Shkreli even went as far as to claim he was the ultimate heel, a pro wrestling term for the bad guy. Don't ever mention my name again, or there will be more of a price to pay than just this video, he warned, fully leaning into his villain persona. Of course, it's worth noting that not long after this beef, Shkreli found himself awaiting trial on securities fraud charges. And then we get to 50 Cent, because of course 50 had to cross paths with Wu-Tang at some point. The tension between 50 and Wu-Tang legend Ghostface Killah is one of those classic rap beefs that really highlights just how wild hip-hop was in the late 90s and early 2000s. It all kicked off with 50 Cent's infamous track How to Rob. It's 1998, and a young 50 Cent is fresh off signing a deal with Columbia Records. He's working on his debut album, Power of the Dollar. But there's one big problem. Nobody's really talking about him. Back then, the hip-hop scene was stacked with heavyweights, so breaking through wasn't easy. But 50, he's a hustler, always thinking outside the box. So he comes up with a bold plan. Stir the pot, get people talking, and make a name for himself by beefing with, well, everyone. The result? On August 10th, 1999, 50 drops How to Rob, featuring the Mad Rapper. The track is basically a humorous blueprint of how 50 would hypothetically rob various rappers in the game. It's tongue-in-cheek, meant to be funny rather than genuinely offensive, but naturally not everyone saw it that way. The track gained instant attention, putting 50 on the map, but it also rubbed plenty of people the wrong way, including several Wu-Tang Clan members. In How to Rob, 50 takes shots at Old Dirty saying it'd be a waste of time to rob him because ODB was famously broke.
Rob ODB, but that'd be a waste of time. Probably have to clap him running towards the 9.
This was a direct nod to the now iconic moment when ODB was filmed picking up a welfare check in a limo for MTV back in 1995. And 50 didn't stop there. He also came for Raekwon, Ghostface, and RZA, cracking jokes about RZA's signature pointy rings.
Take niggas and leave. Catch Ray Ghost and RZA for them funny.
Now, if you know Wu-Tang, you know they don't take disses lightly, even if they're meant to be jokes. Their affiliates, the American Cream Team, quickly responded with their own diss track.
Crook with a deal, keep talking, you gon' meet a crook with a steel.
They made it clear they weren't here for 50's antics. Later in 1999, the Cream Team dropped their mixtape Only Built for the Trilogy, which included a freestyle featuring Raekwon and rapper Pain in DAA, where they continued to fire shots at 50.
Guns through the nose.
But the real heat came in early 2000 when Ghostface dropped his legendary album Supreme Clientele. On the album, there's a skit called Clyde Smith featuring Raekwon, and it's all about dissing 50 Cent. With his voice distorted for extra effect, Raekwon doesn't hold back. He starts off by addressing 50 directly, saying he's going to die with his jewelry on, a direct response to one of 50's lines in How to Rob. He wraps up the skit by promising to kick 50's calling him a bird, and making it clear that the Wu wasn't about to let those jabs slide. At the time, this wasn't just about music. It was a clash of personalities, styles, and eras. 50 was the brash newcomer, unafraid to ruffle feathers, while Wu-Tang was already cemented as hip-hop royalty, and they weren't going to let anyone disrespect their legacy. The back and forth was intense, and while it didn't escalate beyond diss tracks and skits, it became one of those defining moments that showed how beef in hip-hop could be both personal and strategic. Even though 50 50 has since moved on to become a mogul, and Wu-Tang has remained iconic. This feud still gets brought up as a prime example of how 50's rise to fame was built on pushing boundaries and pushing buttons. So after all that, there were rumors floating around that 50 Cent and Ghostface Killah had some kind of beef that got physical. People were saying Ghostface pushed 50 down a flight of stairs. Of course, there's no actual proof of this, just a lot of speculation and talk. Either way, 50 didn't stay quiet. He dropped a freestyle called Peace God.
Niggas, man. Fake rapping that, yo, this son.
At the end of the track, he took another shot at the Wu-Tang Clan and even went off in one of his signature rants, clapping back at the Clyde Smith skit. He also threw in a story about supposedly running into Ghostface at a Columbia Records building or studio, and claimed Ghostface wasn't exactly living up to his gangster rep. Then, in the summer of 2000, things took a turn when 50 Cent was shot 9 times. He spent months recovering, putting a pause on everything. Meanwhile, on November 21st, 2000, Wu-Tang Clan dropped their album The W, and the track One Blood Under had Milla taking a jab at 50 with the line, "I shoot a hole in a 50-piece to test my aim, I dare you, the gods in vain." By 2002, 50 Cent was back in the game, making waves with his legendary mixtape run and eventually dropping his iconic debut album Get Rich or Die Tryin'. Even though the beef between 50 and Wu-Tang had mostly quieted down, there was still tension that lingered for years. Fast forward to 2007, and things flared up again, this time involving Jeezy and Tony Yayo. In July of that year, Yayo did an interview with Spin Magazine where he claimed Ghostface Killah didn't write his Supreme Clientele album, saying, "He didn't even write that album, man. That kid from Far Rockaway, Superb. He wrote that record. You know Superb from Far Rock." For context, Superb was part of Raekwon's American Cream team and had once claimed he wrote most of the album. Ghostface heard about Yayo's comments and clapped back in an interview with rpscity.com, saying, "Yeah, I was in Europe when I heard Tony Yayo say that. That's just nonsense. I still put mad shitty out. Perb was perb. Ghost was ghost. Perb is a grown man. He's been in the studio a few times while we were working. He ain't right. All Perb contributed was a couple of lines you could put in the air. When we write, we all do that. Say this here or put this one there. We all catch lines with each other because you're in the studio with your people. Even if he did write a verse, he could never make an album of mine. He couldn't make an album. You feel me? I made Supreme Clientele. Those are my stories based on my life. Yayo can suck a fat C. Tell him I said that." Years later, Yayo addressed this in a 2024 interview with Vlad TV, claiming the media twisted his words and blew the whole thing out of proportion. So fast forward to December 9th, 2007, Jeezy was performing in London, and during his set, he went on a rant about the state of hip-hop. He even threw some serious shade at 50 Cent, saying he had no talent and went as far as getting the crowd to throw shades at him, with some going as far as saying F 50 Cent.
Hold on, let me hear that. Hold on. He said that.
He was basically like, who cares? You got money, but you don't have talent. The video of this quickly made the rounds on YouTube, and naturally 50 Cent caught wind of it. Not long after, 50 hopped on SiriusXM and clapped back, calling out GZA for hating and even taking shots at Soulja Boy, referring to Wu-Tang as Dusty. However, 50 also made it clear that Method Man was still his favorite Wu-Tang member, and that they were cool.
It's like my favorite Wu-Tang member, you know. I always thought he was better than the rest of them.
Then, on January 14th, 2008, Method Man did an interview with DJ Wu Kid, where he was asked about the whole Wu-Tang versus G-Unit beef. He basically said, "If there is beef, I haven't seen it." Around that time, GZA was gearing up for the release of his 2008 album Pro Tools. On July 15th, 2008, GZA dropped a diss track aimed at 50 Cent called Paper Plate, a title he chose because a paper plate is cheap and disposable, kind of like how he was dissing 50 as a whole. The track was a lyrical masterclass with GZA calling out 50, mentioning his friendship with Floyd Mayweather, and saying 50 could write hooks but lacked any real punch when it came to bars.
You ever seen someone who rolled with Mayweather? Rhyme like Ricky Hatton, smash whatever you throw.
50 never really publicly responded to that diss, but a year later, in July 2009, a video surfaced of 50 in a car, talking about Wu-Tang. He mentioned that Method Man was still his favorite member and briefly touched on his past issues with Ghostface. A couple of days later, 50 dropped his mixtape War Angel LP, which included a track called Cream 2009, a direct play on Wu-Tang's classic Cream. Then, in September 2009, 50 Cent and Ghostface Killah finally revealed that their beef was over. During Ghostface's promo run for his album Wizard of Poetry, he did an interview with Thisis50.com, and also spoke with XXL, where he opened up about squashing the beef. He basically said, "That's some old school shit." Ghostface admitted that it all started over something small he didn't like about what 50 said, but after a phone call to clear the air, it was all good between them. So after all the back and forth, the beef officially ended, and the two were cool again.